Hello, my name is Evan. In this podcast, I'm going to list for you the top 10 characteristics of a successful distance learner or students, followed by my top 10 characteristics of a successful distance teacher. These lists were compiled using class readings, and the most influential sources I used are listed in the description below. They are in no particular order, and due to the length of this podcast, the list will only be a brief overview and not an extensive analysis. Alrighty, let's roll. First up, top 10 characteristics of a successful distance student or learner. First up, you got to know the course structure. That means knowing the dates, the syllabus, the grading, the requirements, having a clear understanding what all that's about. That's step number one. Characteristic number two is motivated learning, being motivated in what you're doing, logging on frequently, and engaging completely in the activities, and have a willingness to participate. Number three, self-discipline. This goes especially important for people who maybe struggle with online learning or have never done it before. Being self-disciplined about scheduling times to log in, scheduling times to complete activities, and blocking out a schedule to get everything done when you need to and to participate. Number four on my characteristic list is be an active group member. From time to time, you're going to have to be involved in discussions, and sometimes you have to be involved in group projects. This is a common aspect of distance education. So being an active group member, being willing to share your thoughts, contribute equally, all of that's going to go, and it's going to help out other things too, like, your social presence and community building, things like that. But plain and simple, be an active group member. Along those lines, I mentioned it is have an active social presence. That not only means being active in your, participation of activities, that also means willing to share personal thoughts, experiences, take risks in sharing your opinions, opening up about, what you think and what you've been through, things like that. All that's going to really help with establishing a greater social presence and really going to add to the community building of the online community for distance education. Number six characteristic for online, distance learners is communicating with a teacher. This doesn't mean just, regular email. This can go beyond that. This can be reading the feedback. This could be asking questions, telling the teacher what you like about an assignment, what you don't like about an assignment, asking, questions for clarification, things like that. All that's really important, and it's going to help in the long run too. And it's going to really, help you get to know your instructor as well. Number seven, be willing to accept feedback and also be open to constructive criticism. This, be willing to fail sometimes and, revise your work and get better and better and better. This will really help, have a successful online experience. Number eight, engage in active learning. This means reading the material, writing well, double checking your writing before turning it in, reflecting on your learning experiences, and especially listening to others when you are involved in discussions and group activities like that. Number nine, being open-minded about new tasks, different technologies, things that you've never done before, especially new websites or new, interactive materials or projects that you've never done. Be open to that. That's going to really help. And finally, number 10, and this is one of the most important ones, is know exactly what you want from the course. There's two types of students I feel like with distance education. There's the just to get the grade students, which is fine, but know your requirements, know what you have to do, know how to participate effectively and to be successful. The second type of student is the engage in deep and innovative learning student. That's also fine. But in that case, be willing to engage with others, try new things, be challenged, be a group leader, things like that. And as a student, they will have a successful time being a distance learner. Now, the second list is top 10 characteristics of a distance teacher. Number one, navigate the technical nuances. You got to know about safety and security, sharing student information. You got to know about accessibility for the hearing impaired and the vision impaired and all the activities that you incorporate. Also with that, you got to know about copyright and the Teach Act. This is important because the rules have been relaxed about fair use and with distance education, but teachers should still recognize the rules, such as that digital materials not paid for, which were specifically intended for online education, is still protected under copyright. So teachers need to know that and need to communicate that with their students as well. Number two, institutional uniformity is going to go a long way. If multiple classes are using the same grading procedures, rubrics, basic online requirements for participation, that's going to help build, strengthen your students, and it's going to help with the classroom as a whole to get on the same page and help people establish routines. Number 3, know the content and the learning objectives. Be solid. If you're a history teacher, know the history. If you're a math teacher, know the math. That's not changing from the traditional classroom, and it all starts with your design planning and your lesson planning with knowing the content and what you want the students to learn. Number 4, don't rely on traditional teaching. What worked for you in the classroom may not work for you outside of the classroom in the distance education setting. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Just don't expect it to be copied, tit for tat, word for word. You're going to have to adjust and adapt to the new online setting. Number 5, make life easier and decrease your stress by unbundling the roles, as the research said. Share resources. Get students to help with leading discussions and grading things. Work with faculty members and divvy out different tasks to students. Things like that. That's going to really help. Let's see, number 6 on my list of top 10 teacher characteristics. Don't let the fancy tools dictate the lesson. This is crucial. Something new will come out online, some new fancy thing, a new project type. Don't let that dictate what you're going to do. Let the content and the learning objectives let you dictate what choices you make. And sometimes a project may be good for a learning objective, or a new tool may be awesome. Other times it may not. It's really important to keep that in mind. Number 7, set an example with social presence. Introduce yourself to the students. Share personal history and experiences. Students may a lot of times going to have trouble opening up, and community building is going to be really tough without being teacher driven. So establish guidelines for communicating, for participation, log on regularly, respond to emails, just really establish that personal, presence in the online community, because it will go a long way for setting an example for the rest of the students to help build the community. In short, without you, it's not going to happen. Number 8, be an active feedback giver. Give feedback often and make sure it's simple and constructive. Make it more personalized. One of the best things, one of the research readings said, was to maybe even give an audio feedback, because if students have never met you before, it goes a long way to hear your voice talking to them, when online comments can often tend to be more negatively interpreted. But in an audio MP3 file, you can give feedback and sound more personal when you do it. Number 9, provide explicit instructions, which means procedures, routines, and timelines, which is going to help the class run smoothly and really make your kids successful. And then finally, keep it different. Step number 10, characteristic number 10, keep it different. Don't be cookie cutter. All right. You don't have to go crazy with and innovate every aspect of your, lessons. But if there's something cool or something different or something new, or a new project style or a new writing prompt or a new way of doing things, try it. And it's going to go a long way to keep your class fresh and keep people on their toes. And, it's going to really add to the innovative aspect of online learning. And with online learning, you can do a lot of different cool stuff that you can't do in the classroom. So in short, this is my 2 lists, top 10 lists for successful distance student and top 10 lists for successful distance teacher. I know I ran long, but I had a lot to get through. Enjoy, and see you next time.